Hey everybody, it's Retro DM Ray. Hey, I'm back with you on the channel. And here a while back, I did some Forbidden Lands stuff. It was a couple of little videos about that. I'm not real happy about how those turned out. And I cannot do an unboxing video. I tried to do one. The recording was really horrible, and so I deleted that. So I'm just showing you the box today, and I've actually got the box on the playing surface of the map itself for the Forbidden Lands. And I thought what I would do is just kind of take a minute to take a look at Forbidden Lands for you in such a way as um, we can kind of get started on going through this and taking a little bit of a deeper dive look at the Forbidden Lands. First things first, the box itself is just extremely sturdy. If you've gotten any box sets from Pre-League, you would know that. The One Ring starter set, absolutely super sturdy. The addition of the One Ring starter set on the inside of the top and bottom actually has some DM screen usefulness for you, a small map, and some other things where you could actually use the box as a DM screen. Of course, this particular game, Forbidden Lands, comes with these sheets here that have these stickers on it to place on the map of Forbidden Lands, and that's because Forbidden Lands is a sandbox style hex crawling style game. If you don't know what that means what you're going to actually do is you're going to not know where anything is on the map per se for your characters. Your characters are just going to start out, and then they will discover what is in the next hex that they're traveling through. Pretty much the same time you do, if you can do it that way, and if you want to do it that way, or you will know what is only in the one hex around their area in every direction, and then they will move into that hex and they will discover that for themselves. And that's where you will then place those stickers, because Forbidden Lands is an adventure sites type of game. Um, you will go from one location to the next, adventuring through those different sites. Now, there is a Raven's Purge campaign book, and I would say it's really just a collection of adventure sites strung together with a common theme and a somewhat common backstory, and we'll get to that later on in some more videos. There is the Bitter Reach, which is another location with adventure sites and other things in it as well, and we'll get to that too. There is the Spire of Quetzal, which again is another one of those adventure site collections that you could string together in a story. But largely the strength for me that I see in Forbidden Lands is for the fact that it is a sandbox hex crawl game. And this is unlike other games, although it is like several of the Free League game products in that um, this is not specifically about heroes. So I'm going to read from you what's on the back of the box, okay? Round the beggar from Verasa, all sat in a ring, and by the campfire they sat and heard his song about walkers and wolfkin and every terrible thing. And of his fear he sang to them all night long. There is something beyond the mountains, beyond the howls, beyond the mist. There's something behind the veils, behind hearts cold as stone. Hearken, something walks and whispers, walks and lures you in, and whimpers, come to us, for this earth shall ever be ours, and ours alone. Forbidden Lands is a new take on classic fantasy role-playing. Now, I want to stop there. Um, I consider this to be OSR, but it is not OSR mechanically speaking, for the most part, and you can disagree with me on that if you'd like to. My OSR background is well known to you if you're watching my videos on this channel, so that I don't consider it truly OSR. I consider it to be more retro. So it has an OSR feel constantly to the game. I've played it enough to know that for certain. However, it is not OSR mechanically speaking. Okay, so it is a new take on classic fantasy role playing. And here's what it says. In this sandbox survival role-playing game, you're not heroes sent on missions dictated by others. Instead, you are raiders and rogues bent on making your own mark on a cursed world. You will discover lost tombs, fight terrible monsters, wander the wildlands, and if you live long enough, build your own stronghold to defend. So there's some key words in there. Sandbox survival role-playing game. There are mechanics that you will see in the game. So here's the player's handbook, and here is the game master's guide. You will see some mechanics in this system that are very much geared directly towards a sandbox and survival role-playing. You're not going to be sent on missions. You're going to encounter things that are going to lead you to adventure sites, and you're going to have issues that you're going to have to deal with. But largely, no one's going to send you on a mission if you play this rules as written or as originally designed and intended. Okay, it can be used to incorporate any of your other classic fantasy worlds and gaming styles into as you see fit, just using some of the wonderful and cool mechanics that are in here. But rules as written, rules as intended from everything that I've heard from Free League as well. And I want to thank them for this product, for this review, of course. But everything that I've seen from them, that's not the idea that you be sent on missions, and that this is a dark world, that you are indeed a raider and a rogue. You're bent on making your own mark on a cursed world. So that's why it says you're going to discover lost tombs and fight terrible monsters. And believe me, monsters in here are quite terrible. They have quite terrifying abilities that they can do. Some of those abilities will certainly put you off if you are not into a horror style of genre or mindset. So be careful with that. I would caution that for small children if that's a thing for you. Some of the monsters, some of the tales of those monsters in here are a little bit sticky in that regard, and not things that we do at our table, but you do your table however you wish. You'll wander the wild lands. Like I said, you won't know what's in the next hexes around you until you decide to go forth in that direction. And then it will be determined and you'll discover that. I like that discovery aspect of the game. And then it says, if you live long enough. I like that. Now that's the old school feeling. It's sandbox, it's survival, and it's making your own mark, and it's if you live long enough. This game is very gritty. It's difficult to live. Now, I will say it's difficult to live at lower levels. Once you've played about 10 full and complete sessions, and I would say several hours of those 10 sessions, okay? So probably 30 hours or more, and you've invested that amount of time and you've gotten a goodly amount of XP, and there's a unique XP system in here that we'll go over later. Once you've developed that for your characters and you've played about that period of time, you've kind of topped out on several of your abilities. And at that point, then living long enough is not as much of an issue. So as a game master, you will have to stretch that out or decide how to alter that for yourself to make that be a continuous challenge later on down the line. I think Bitter Reach helps to add to that. And from what I've seen from Raven's Purge, it will help to add to that. I know a couple of the adventure sites in Spiral Kessel will help to add to that. So utilize that to the best of your ability, so that feeling of needing to live long enough continues to stay as part of the game, because I think that's the important and a very important aspect of the game. And then it says another old school thing, to build your own stronghold to defend. Very few games now at all in modern systems are geared towards building your own stronghold. Okay, Pathfinder 2nd Edition has Kingmaker. That's the whole point of the premise of that, is that you're going to eventually become kings. That's the name of the adventure path. So there is that out there. I think Crown of the Kobold King is an old one from 1st Edition Pathfinder that might also do the same thing. I don't know. Just a little bit that I've heard about it. 5th Edition's not really into that at all. Sorry. But the old school systems were that you would go and clear out a place, and then if it was a place you wanted to build up as your stronghold, or even as just a short-term stronghold and refuge, and then move on, that was very much a thing that you did. And this game is that, to build your stronghold to defend it. So there are rules in here to build that stronghold, and the costs associated, both in money, treasure, as well as support and time. I also think that's really, really cool that's in this system. Okay, so let's set the book aside. We've gone over that a little bit and take a look at the two main books. You have the Player's Handbook here, and you have the Game Master's Guide. Both of them are very beautiful books, very beautiful hardbound books with this gold foil, old school looking design. They both have, as you can see, they both have ribbons in them, which I really love that. That helps to keep the place. I really, really like that. And I also like that the inside of here has the black and white line art of the Forbidden Lands map. Really, really super cool. A lot of the artwork in here is from way back in Swedish Scandinavian game design from Nils Gulliksen, um, and Thomas Harnstam, Christian Graneth, and Kasa Kosalis, Niels Carlin, Eric Grandstrom here. All these guys did just such a wonderful job, and gals that worked on this. Just a wonderful job of the look of these books. They're really, really solid, really, really well sewn and held together. I've opened this many, many, many times and never heard a crack, never heard a problem, never had any page separation. So that's a really high quality book. So you're actually getting a good return on your investment when you purchase this box set. And I would encourage you to do so if you have the ability and you like that old school. Okay, so I really like this old school line art. And then what else it does is this is the fourth printing of the book. So I like in each one of the printings, they're clarifying things, working through typographical or system errors that have creeped into it and have been in their first and second printings, and now up to the fourth printing of this one anyway. Which was in 2019. And this lists all the different pages where they made clarifications and changes. I really, really like that. I don't have to wonder where those might be. And I know what the number of print of this book is. So I know the exact changes I'm getting, and I don't have to worry and wonder about that. Okay, so that's incredibly cool. Then they have your table of contents here. The introduction. The Forbidden Lands has a really cool backstory. I would encourage you to take a look at that, and we will go through it. I might read through some of that. But the interesting thing about these two books is the Player's Handbook and the Game Master's Guide. So the Player's Handbook has the history and the information that the players know, and that's what the players need to know. The Game Master's Guide adds to, or in some cases maybe clarifies, what the players do not know, and I think for this system shouldn't know. It adds a depth of information that only the game master needs. That's more mystery for the players. Man, that harkens way back to old school in the separation of the first edition AD&D Player's Handbook and the first edition AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. Gygax was very specific. The purview of the Dungeon Master's Guide is for the viewing of that Dungeon Master and not to be in the hands of the players. And the Player's Handbook is to be in the hands of everyone at the table. And that's all the information that they need. And it keeps that little bit of separation, and it keeps that mystery going on. Does it make a little bit of extra work for the game master that they have to look up stuff and tell them things that they could just ordinarily look up for themselves? Sure. And if that's your thing and you'd rather do that, that's cool. But I like how this makes that separation, because the mystery of not knowing what is in, one hex in another in this arena forest, for example, that same mystery also can fall out into the system, that the players think they know everything about their kin, or everything about the history of the Forbidden Lands that they're in. But in reality, they don't really know everything. And that's more for you to discover as you play. I think that is really, really cool. So besides the box and the sturdiness of that, and the quality of the thicker paper of the map, the paper of this map is just really thick. It's not any plain like old school Forgotten Realms map where it just rips easily and you got to have a bunch of them, right? Or you got to laminate it so that way it doesn't do that. This is not going to require that, and it's double-sided. So the exact same map on the other side is the one that's on this side. So when you have your stickers, if you're going to use them, which I don't like that, but if you're going to put them on the actual map, you can play through this entire map with all those stickers and then flip it over and you've got a whole blank map on the other side to do the exact same thing. You would have to have another sheet of stickers, obviously, and The reason why I don't do that is because I don't want to populate my map like that, so I can use it over and over and over again. It saves me money. Now, one thing that I did is I had that sticker sheet, and then from a Yahtzee dice game of all things are these little bitty tiny poker chips. Okay. I took, for example, this was the one of the adventure little cave sites that we ran into in Forbidden Lands with my family. And what I did was I put that sticker on that chit, and then I can put it, like, say, right up here at the edge of the Dankwood. And there it is in that hex when they actually encounter it after crossing the cold water. Okay, for example. And I put the hollows right there. And so then when they crossed into the forest right here in that particular hex, right there in the Dankwood, then that was where they were. Okay. So that's the way I do it. You can do it a bunch of different ways. I just thought that was a cheap and easy way to do that. Those poker chips, you could even buy the bigger ones if you wanted to, but you can find the smaller ones, I'm sure, probably in the Dollar Tree even, or something like that, really, really cheap, or in some old board games you have or something. So that's what I did. There's another book that comes in the box as well, which I really, really like. Um, I'm always looking for cool new books with tables to inspire, and tables to roll on to give more inspiration about what's going on and what's coming up. But if you're doing a Sandbox Hexcrawl, tables are incredibly important, okay, to be able to roll what's in the next thing. I did some videos on Table Fables 1 and 2, great books. There's D100 Dungeons. There's a bunch of other choices, and Forbidden Lands has this choice for you as well. So its contents consist of the following, and this is just a staple bound book. Again, though, thicker paper, so it's gonna last. Okay, the contents are backstories, legend generator, and monster generator. Okay, so you want to generate yourself from the very beginning. You could generate your kin randomly. Okay, then from that kin, you could generate the home region you're from. Okay, and then look up your kin, roll that d6 as to where within that region. Right, you can generate your childhood and the attributes and skills that would be associated with that. Okay, and from each different area, there's a different childhood generation table. Okay, they're all d6s. The starting table is a d66. Okay, and basically you're going to roll 2d6s, and the first one is the tens number, and the second one is the ones number. So that's how you get 11 to 66. Okay, so it's got goblin and orc, it's got wolfkin, it's got dwarf, it's got elf. Yes, you can play goblins and orcs in here. You don't have to allow it at your table if you don't want, but they're a thing in here. Elves in here. Then you've got random profession and random talent generation for that profession too. Okay. So for example, if you randomly generated a druid on 11 through 14, then you would go to the profession talent and you could randomly say they took the path of healing, shifting shapes, or sight. We'll get into those paths later. Those are professional talent paths that are really the easy way to say that is spellcasting paths that you're learning and developing in. There's formative events that come from your profession that you randomly rolled. So for a druid, you got pilgrimage or hunted or unexpected find, studied with a master, protected the forest, or lived as a hermit. Okay. So really, really cool tables for that. So moving on past those, then we will talk about the party. How did your party meet? There's a D66 table to randomly roll how they met up. Again, the party could roll it. You could roll it. Any way you want to do that. And then you have a legend generator. Okay, so for example, you could say before the shift, actual age is 1100 plus years. Okay, there was and then you roll on this table. Say there was a bloodthirsty rider, and then you would roll on this table who sought a weapon, for example, because of a promise and traveled to a tower located a few days off or on the other side of the Forbidden Lands in a or some, right, ruins, marshland, whatever, in the direction of, as the legend goes, it said he, she, and that at the location there is or are, but also wonderful, wonderful tables. Okay. Then you have a monster generator. You can generate the size of the monster, which would automatically produce its strength score. the type, okay, of the monster, the limbs the monster has, the number of heads or what type it is, if it has a tail and what type, if it has armor and what it is, the movement type, the home, the skills, the traits of that monster, because each monster in here has a trait or traits, a weakness or weaknesses, a motivation, what type of attacks. Okay, because all monsters have either an attack or a table of attacks that they perform. Okay, and most of them have tables. Types of special attacks, the monster attacks that they might have. So here's a table here for random monster attacks that lie outside the capabilities of the monster generator. But there's a table below to help you from the previous pages. So an attack might be bite, it could require fangs, and the sample description it gives you here: the beast bites the nearest adventurer with its razor sharp fangs. Perform an attack with X base dice and weapon damage X as a slash wound. Okay, so really, really cool tables, all the way to fire attack, lethal stare. So really, really cool book to have. I would encourage you, if you're going to be using this Legends and Adventures staple bound, that you consider picking up the PDF so that you have it just as much in PDF copy as you do in physical copy, only because of wear and tear. Because after all, it is just loose pages that have been staple bound together, and those could wear. Okay, but other than that, I think those books are awesome. I might stop here for today and not really do much of a deeper dive than that, except suffice it to say, again, thank you to Free League for giving this to me to review. I intend to go a lot deeper into this as time goes by, and maybe make some cross comparisons, because I also received from them the One Ring starter set and the One Ring core rulebook, and they have just been a wonderful company with that stuff. They've also sent me a lot of other PDFs of things that I could review, but I tend to be more of a physical book guy to do these reviews. But I do have those to read through, and all of them have been a joy to see. A lot of the ones that I'm really, really liking, in fact, a lot of their products operate by this Year Zero engine, and so we'll talk about that later on too. But again, I'm hoping that you're liking what you're seeing here. And that this maybe excites you to get into Forbidden Lands, which again I think is really a retro style of game that has such a huge OSR feel, and a great group of folks that create this stuff. Fantastic art, and just really, really high quality for what you're paying for. I think this is just a really, really good publishing company, and I look forward to covering some more of it on the channel with you later as we go deeper and deeper. I'm looking forward to developing some other relationships with another game system publisher as well, to be showing some more things like this on the channel. And so I'm hoping that you're liking this type of stuff. If you are, please give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a share, and certainly subscribe. I have a lot of subscribers that are just sitting on the fence and not really subscribing. Please, I encourage you to just to subscribe to the channel. It's always just good old school stuff like this, and I hope you're liking these videos. I'm trying to push towards that 500 mark so I can do some more. Thank you all who've joined recently, and those who've been on the channel since the beginning. Sorry, and I appreciate that. Thank you for my Patreon folks. Again, you can check that out on all the links to those kinds of things, ways you can support the channel, in the description below. And take care, prosper, and happy gaming. Later.